Obviously disappointed from a Tottenham perspective, because I think it's an opportunity. Tottenham have got a couple of injuries, but they certainly have a strong team compared to Arsenal. In terms of COVID cases, I think Arsenal only have one. People gone to the African nations, which everybody already knows that. They have a few injuries. So clearly disappointed that the game's called off as a spectator, and also I've got a 12-year-old son at home who's absolutely devastated. We've got a Christmas present to come and watch the game, so he's good. So disappointed, really disappointed, because I just think there needs to be a bit more clarity, a bit more transparency on the actual rules, and because I think at the moment, if you listen to the interviews from every manager, everyone has a different perspective on this.
Well, I think Spurs probably went even further than that, didn't they, with their statement that they issued yesterday. And these were the salient points of what was a pretty strongly worded stuff in this interesting debate. We are extremely surprised, they said, the application's been approved. The original intention of the guidance was to deal with player availability directly affected by COVID cases. They go on to say, we do not believe it was the intent to deal with player availability unrelated to COVID. We may now be seeing the unintended consequences of this rule. It is important to have clarity, as Robbie says, and consistency on the application of the rule. Graham, what's your stance on this?
I think there's too much ambiguity about the rules as they're laid out. I think what Arsenal are doing is what any other club would do that find themselves short of what they perceive as their key players. Some of it self-inflicted because they let two players go out on loan last week. But I don't think they'd be alone in acting like this. I think they'd all go down the same road. And it may backfire on them, because obviously these games have to be played at some time, and you could be going into, Arsenal could be going to Spurs with even more injuries and no COVID restrictions at a time when they maybe got suspensions or maybe more injuries that would cause them the same sort of problems. But I think Arsenal are no different to any other club.
I agree. I think with Arsenal, remember the first game of the season? At Brentford, no Lacazette, no Aubameyang. I know his form's not been great this season, but at the start of the season, you expect him to bang in goals. And I just feel like when it's Arsenal, everyone wants to lump in for some reason. Arsenal have been in great form, and by the rules, have done nothing wrong. Like the lads have said here, the clarity, and they're playing by what they're perceived. They don't have enough first-team players, so I understand other people being frustrated, but in my opinion, they've done nothing wrong. And let's be honest, other clubs would do the same thing as well. You know, this is not an Arsenal thing. People saying it's, you know, the way they've handled it, it could have been better. Yes, of course. I think in terms of integrity of the game, but if you know that you've not got senior players fit, every team in the Premier League would look after themselves. And if they say that they wouldn't, then they're lying.
Let me bring in the former Arsenal striker Alan Smith on this, who's part of our commentary team at the London Stadium today. Afternoon to you, Alan. You've heard what's been said here already, and we're talking about the rule book right now. Arsenal themselves have really said here that they've got 2 COVID cases. They've also got 4 players away at the African Cup of Nations, and as Graham said, they sent out 2 players on loan last week. Are the rules being pushed to their extreme here, do you think?
Well, first of all, I thought it was going to be fighting Arsenal's corner, but it's good to hear the lads backing up the Gunners. Listen, people have spoken about a loophole in the rule. I mean, I don't think it's a loophole. It's just the rule, isn't it? In the wording, I think they mention the Africa Cup of Nations and also injuries. And if that's the case, you know, why wouldn't Arsenal ask the question, which is exactly what they did. If people want to have the hump about something, it should be the Premier League and also the clubs that pass that rule, because obviously everything has to go through the 20 Premier League clubs, and it did just that. But yeah, as the boys say, you've got to have more clarity. Everybody's kind of in the dark as to what exactly the tipping point is. I mean, I think actually Leeds, they had a lot of COVID cases before the Arsenal game a few weeks back, and they chose not to go to the Premier League, and in the end they got soundly beaten. So it's up to the individual clubs. But yeah, from Arsenal's point of view, I don't blame them for going to the Premier League at all, Dave.